request, a personal prayer request, please put it in our prayer box, which is on the table in the back, and it'll be prayed for and then sent on to Silent Unity. If anyone would like one-on-one prayer after today's service, we have a chaplain with us today, Arlene. She will be happy to sit with you and pray for whatever you need. We also have Larry back there who is willing to do Diksha blessing for anyone that would like to have that. So I think that's all going to occur up in this part of the room. So if you would like any of that, just gravitate up here after the service. It's a wonderful, powerful thing to have both prayer ways. Let's see, our silent auction is next Saturday night. Saturday night. Okay, if we, Karen Drecker is the musician. She's having a concert at the Unitarian Center. It's being sponsored by St. Clair Productions. Ariel, where are you? Ariel's right here. Okay, and Ariel has tickets today for sale. So see Ariel at the table to get your ticket. We want to fill that place. And we are having our own spring fundraiser, which is a silent auction for Unity. And our Candace is in charge of that. Candace right here. We have about 30 or 31 items so far, and that's wonderful. We thank everyone that has contributed anything. We would like to have maybe 40, so we still are open to more. So if you have a lot more than that, we would like to have 3,627 items. So if everyone here could find it in your heart to find something of value that you can give for our silent auction.
When?
It is next Saturday night at Karen Drecker's concert. It is at the Unitarian Center. And Karen, of course, will be our speaker and musician here at our service next Sunday, so come to that as well. But we hope you'll come to the service and bid on the silent auction items. Now, if anyone has ever stayed over at the coast, we have a beautiful coastline in Oregon. There are lots of wonderful hotels, bed and breakfast or whatever. If anyone has stayed anywhere there and has a connection, perhaps, with that place, maybe you could give a call and tell them about our silent auction and what it is helping, supporting, and ask them if they'd be willing to donate, maybe a night or a weekend for two, for lodging, something like that. Restaurants can also be contacted. There are lots of places left that we probably haven't hit yet, so please help us out with that. We really need the support of all of us coming together for this.
And can I say something about Karen Drucker? If you're not familiar with her, you are familiar with her music because Heather has sung a lot of her songs in the service. She'll be very uplifting. She's very positive. Some of her songs are funny. A lot of them are English chants. She'll have you singing. So it's definitely a show you want to come to see.
And you'll recognize a lot of the songs.
Now, I'll have the for sale in the back.
Yes. All right, thank you. So we want to make that a big event. And we always want to thank our food angels who are not back there, but they will be, and so we hope that you will, as you are enjoying the feasts that they prepare for us every week, that you will help to support them with a little donation box back there as well. Now, who knows what 2 weeks ago was commemorating the March 3rd? Nobody, of course. Nobody would know this. It happened to be the commemoration of the birth date of Alexander Graham Bell. Now, of course, we had a seance that night, and he came through, and he was scratching his head and saying, I never meant for them to take it that seriously. He was having a vision of everybody walking around on their cell phones, and he didn't like it too much. So, what are we going to do with our cell phones? Leave them on? Did I hear someone say leave them on? No, he's not going to call us. Let's turn them off. Okay. We're happy to have Cerisa and Richard on music today, and I'm going to now turn the service over to our wonderful Reverend Norman Burton.
We were saying the other day at the lay chaplain's training that I stay up Saturday night and I'm writing the sermons, and Donna stays up researching these wonderful stories about the cell phones. We appreciate that. Well, happy St. Patrick's Day. My grandmother was a full-blooded Irish woman, Marianne McGuinness. And she was a wonderful woman. She was a blessing to many. She was always making us laugh. That really comes with the Irish people. And really, every time we'd get together with dinner or a celebration, she would have us rolling on the floor in laughter. It was great to be around her. And she also, when I think back about it, she was always blessing things. She was always blessing animals that came along that were hurt, that people brought to her, or blessing plants, and she had such a green thumb. and blessing people and encouraging people that were sad in their hearts. She ran a grocery store, and people would come in and she would talk to them and always give them a blessing as they left. So blessing relates to having a certain perspective on life, a perspective that there's something good, even in the hardest circumstances. You know how the Irish people are, like a pot of gold at the end of the storm that brings the rainbow, or the fairies that are lurking just around the corner. So Irish people, they're known for being good of heart, good of cheer and temperament, and of seeing the gold in the shadows. So they also are very attuned to nature. And one of my subtitles for today was Celtic shamanism, which is two words that have gotten put together in recent times, you know, Celtic and shamanism. But when you think about the meaning of the word shaman, it means all over the world, just cultures and spiritualities of people that were attuned to nature and that were aware of the healing energies of nature. So surely the Celtic people were a shamanic people. And that reminded me of a story that I heard about an Irish farmer. He was standing motionless in the middle of his field one day in March as the sun was setting, and he was moving 3 steps at a time and then looking again, and then moving another 3 steps and gazing. And these tourists were going by, and they noticed him doing this strange thing, and they thought, aha, we've come upon this old Irish shaman, and he's doing some ancient spring ritual. So the husband couldn't help, out of his curiosity, to roll down his window, and he yelled out to him, hello, sir, could you tell me what you're doing? Whereupon the farmer slowly turned around and looked at him, and he said in his Irish accent, noticing. 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 So today we're going to be talking about the Irish spirit of noticing what's really going on around us, and then choosing to name it a blessing.
Good morning, friends. Happy to be here. I actually got dressed this morning and then came downstairs and realized it was St. Patrick's Day and we were going to be talking about the Irish, and I thought, I have green. Then I came down again, my husband said, well, aren't you green? I too have Irish ancestry, and just as Norma mentioned, the women in my family who come from that line were big of heart and big of laughter as well. And this song that we're going to start with today is a song by an English singer-songwriter. Her name is Imogen Heap. And the song was, I think she actually composed it for the film Narnia, if you've seen that or if you've read any of C.S. Lewis's amazing Chronicles of Narnia. And the chorus of the song, which we'll sing together when we get there, says the simple words, "It couldn't be any more beautiful. It couldn't be any more beautiful." And then she says, "I can't take it in." Have you ever had that feeling? Standing somewhere where you're just struck wide open to the heart with the beauty, the magnificence. And today we're going to experience that with each other. So we'll sing the chorus once, and when we get to it at the end of the song, I want you to actually look at the person you're sitting next to and say, "You couldn't be any more beautiful. You couldn't be any more beautiful." See if you can find a couple folks around you to connect with, and we'll sing that together. Let me teach you that part. It's going to sound like this. Oh yes, and please forgive my recovering cold voice. Having a toddler, it's impossible not to get it. So our chorus will sound like this. You couldn't be any more beautiful. You sing that with me? And don't be shy. I know it's early in the morning, but here we are. We're all dressed in our Sunday best. So I'm sure you can find folks to praise their beauty. But we'll start at the beginning. I can't close my eyes. They're wide awake. Every hair on my body has got a thing for this place. Oh, empty my heart. I've got to make room for this feeling so much bigger than me. It couldn't be any more beautiful. I can't take it in. Weightless in love, unraveling for all that's to come and all that's ever been. We're back to the dawn with every shade under the sun. Well, let's make it a good one. Here we go. Find somebody. You couldn't be any more beautiful. Tell them again. You couldn't be any more beautiful. One more time, really from your heart. You couldn't be any more beautiful. I can't take it in. You find someone else, someone you haven't told how beautiful they are yet today. Here we go. You couldn't be any more beautiful. You couldn't be any more beautiful. One more time. You couldn't be any more beautiful. I can't take it in. Now let's say, I can't take it in. I can't take it in. I will take it in. I will take it in. I will take it in. Thank you, beautiful.
We're blessing the children now, and you know, we hear that word blessing, and we say it every week, but today's theme is about the power of blessing. And every week we are blessing our children. And so it's a wonderful thing, really. We're doing something there. We're actually accomplishing something when we're blessing them. So we'd like our children to come forward now, and with their teacher, Cara, we're also going to bless. So glad that Cara's here, their teacher. She's going to be teaching them about St. Patrick's Day and also the pagan roots behind it and the... Yeah. Oh yeah, I was going to say something about the pinching people if they don't wear green. I was thinking that instead we could hug them if they do wear green. And if they don't have green, we could hug them. We could just hug them, you know, because it's better than pinching. So we rub our hands together like this because blessing is about sharing energy. And so we share energy with you kids and we say, we love you, we appreciate you, and we behold the Christ light shining in you. Thank you for being here. Have a wonderful time. And thank you, Carl. All right, you have a fun time. And now, every week we always bless the kids, but today I wanted to share a ritual blessing of each other. And so we've kind of done it with looking at each other and saying how beautiful we are, but we're going to be talking about John O'Donohue in just a moment. And how many people have heard of John O'Donohue? He's such a wonderful Irish man, theologian and poet, and he wrote a whole book on blessing. And so he would speak blessings in very beautiful ways and lilting language. And I wonder if you could say a blessing to the person next to you today. And it can be not necessarily as poetic as John O'Donohue would do it, because he might say something like, "May you allow the wild beauty of the invisible world to gather you present here." May you allow the wild beauty of the invisible world to gather you present here. But you could say something like, "May this gathering meet your soul's needs." May this gathering meet your soul's needs. So just turn to a person next to you now and share a blessing with them.
Well, I'll do it, Doc. He says things like yeah, he says things like, be courteous.
Very good. Thank you. And I'm going to have Roy come now and do a reading for us from John O'Donohue about blessing.
Let's bless Jay.
Is this carrying all right?
Let's bless Jay.
Yeah, unfortunately, I don't have an Irish accent. I've tried to put one on in the past, and I think it was somebody thought I was from Russia. Anyhow, this reading comes from the late Irish poet John O'Donohue, who died unexpectedly last year at the age of 52. Not long before his death, he was interviewed for the NPR program Speaking of Faith. This reading is an excerpt from O'Donohue's book, To Bless the Space Between Us, in which he makes the case for recovering what he calls the lost art of blessing. It would be infinitely lonely to live in a world without blessing, he says. And he goes on to say, the word blessing evokes a sense of warmth and protection. It suggests that no life is alone or unreachable. While our culture is all gloss and pace on the outside, within it is too often haunted and lost. The commercial edge of so-called progress has cut away a huge region of human tissue and webbing that held us in communion with one another. We have fallen out of belonging. Consequently, when we stand before crucial thresholds in our lives, we have no rituals to protect, encourage, and guide us as we cross over into the unknown. For such crossings, we need to find new words. Our times are desperate for meaning and belonging. In the parched deserts of postmodernity, a blessing can be like the discovery of a fresh well. I'll repeat that. A blessing can be like the discovery of a fresh well. It would be lovely if we could rediscover our power to bless one another. I believe each of us can bless. When a blessing is invoked, it changes the atmosphere. Some of the plenitude flows into our hearts from the invisible neighborhood of loving kindness. In the light of blessing, a person or situation becomes illuminated in a completely new way. In a dead wall, a new window opens. In a dense darkness, a path starts to glimmer. and into a broken heart healing falls like morning dew. Let us begin to learn to bless one another. Whenever you give a blessing returns to enfold you.
Now I've asked, thank you, Roy, that was beautifully done. And I've asked Anya to come up and read a blessing that John O'Donohue wrote.
He's been one of my favorites forever. This is the book to bless the space between us. And I'm going to ask you to read For Old Age. May the light of your soul mind you. May all your worry and anxiousness about your age be transfigured. May you be given wisdom for the eyes of your soul to see this as a time of gracious harvesting. May you have the passion to heal what has hurt you and allow it to come closer and become one with you. May you have great dignity, sense how free you are. Above all, may you be given the wonderful gift of meeting the eternal light that is within you. May you be blessed, and may you find a wonderful love in yourself for yourself. May you be blessed, and may you find a wonderful love for yourself, in yourself.
This is a little Welsh ballad that I learned from an amazing singer-songwriter, Maura Smiley, who Ariella brought to us not too long ago. She herself is a master of much Celtic music. I thought it would be fun for us today to hear just a little bit of the language sounds of that region of the world. And this song, I'll read just a minute of the translation. It says, "On the seashore are red roses. On the seashore are white lilies. On the seashore is my love, sleeping at night and arising at morn. So full is the sea of sand and seashell, so full the egg of white and yellow, so full the woods of leaves and flowers, so full of love am I." Harlanimor, my roses kochian. Harlanimor, my lilies quanian. Harlanimor, my hariad inne. Ankaskirnos acholir more. Harlanimor, my kere wastad. Chlebim and sharad, gairam karyad. Od dechon, mein tementafi. Acham besprigen rosmari. Harlanimor, my creation. Harlanimor, my blood armenian. Harlanimor, mein pobrin weve. Harlanimor, mein hariad inne. Harlanimor, my roses kofian. Harlanimor, my lilies quanian. Harlanimor, mein hariad inne. Ankaskirnos achodir bore.
You can feel in that song the longing, and the gaze at something with the eyes to see and behold the beauty in it. One time I was in Bend, Oregon, at a conference on helping the dying, and John O'Donohue was the main speaker. And he spent most of the time talking to us about how do you gaze upon things and people. What do you see when you look? And do you really gaze like God gazes? Do you see what God or the goddess might see when looking upon it? So that song reminds me of the feeling of that. And I've asked Karen Douglas to come and give us a reading that's an excerpt from a novel that talks about this way of interacting with creatures in a way that beholds their beauty and blesses them.
It's particularly appropriate that I get to read this one. Our reading this morning comes from the novel Gilead. Maybe some of you have heard of it, by Marianne Robinson. The narrator in this story is a Midwestern preacher by the name of John Ames, who comes from a long line of preachers. The novel takes the form of an extended letter in which John Ames, nearing the end of his life, writes a letter to his young son, imagining he will read it when he grows up. In this excerpt, Ames is reflecting on the nature of blessing by recalling an afternoon when he was a young boy and he and his friends decided to baptize a litter of kittens. Now, this might seem like a trivial thing to mention, considering the gravity of the subject, but I truly don't feel it is. We were very pious children from very pious households in a very pious town, and this affected our behavior considerably once we baptized the litter of cats. They were dusty little barn cats, just steady on their legs, the kind of waifish creatures that live their anonymous lives, keeping the mouse down and have no interest in humans at all. So, except to avoid them, he says. But the animals all seemed to start out sociable, so we were pleased to find the new kittens prowling out of whatever cranny their mother had tried to hide them in. They were as ready to play as we were. It occurred to one of the girls to swaddle them in a doll's dress. There was only one dress, which is just as well, since the cats could hardly tolerate a moment in it, and would have insisted on being unswaddled as soon as they were christened in any case. I myself moistened their brows, repeating the baptizing formula I had heard in church. In the name of the Father, the Son, and the Holy Ghost. Their grim, crooked-tailed mother found us baptizing away by the creek and began carrying her babies off by the napes of their neck, one after the other. We lost track of which was which, but we were fairly sure that some of the creatures had been borne away still in the darkness of paganism. After all these years, I still remember those warm little brows and how they felt under the palm of my hand. Everyone has petted a cat, but to touch one like that with the pure intention of blessing it is a very different thing. It stays in the mind. For years we would wonder what, from a cosmic viewpoint, we had done to them. It seemed to me to be a real question. There is a reality in blessing. It doesn't enhance sacredness, but it acknowledges it. And there is power in that. I have felt it pass through me, so to speak. The sensation of really knowing a creature, really feeling its mysterious life, and your mysterious life at the same time.
see when our eyes are really open. I want to teach you the chorus of the song. It says, love is the opening door. Love is what we came here for. No one could offer you more. Do you know what I mean? Have your eyes really seen? Let's try that. I'll teach it to you guys. Love is the opening door. Love is what we came here for. Love is what we came here for. No one could offer you more. No one could offer you more. Do you know what I mean? Do you know what I mean? Have your eyes really seen? Have your eyes really seen? The words I have to say may well be simple, but they're true. Until you give your love, there's nothing more that we can do. Love is the opening door. Love is what we came here for.
creature. That's been one of my favorite songs since the 70s. The only thing is, yes, I love that song. When your eyes really see, the thing is they get tears in them, don't they? That's what happens. Elton John. Elton John. Well, I also have a story about kittens and water. Though it doesn't end up quite the same way as our reading of baptizing the barn cats in the creek. Once my daughter and I adopted 2 little kittens, Princess and Felix. And they were 10 weeks old when we got them, and it was pretty much love at first sight. But unfortunately, the honeymoon ended a few weeks later when we got the kittens settled in, and Felix began to forget about how to use the litter box. And so one fateful evening, we found ourselves deciding to give Felix a bath. An emergency bath. And maybe you can tell where this is going, but you see, the thing is, we didn't know the proper procedures for bathing a cat. And nowadays, we could have gone to the internet and checked, and we would have learned, it probably would have come up right away. Avoid having to bathe a cat if at all possible. Second, and related, we would have learned that you have to, if you have to wash a soiled kitty, you should just pat them and do it with as little water as possible. But unfortunately, for all of us, in our panic, we passed by Google and went straight to the bathtub, where we proceeded to give a squirming Felix his first ever bath. And in theological terms, we didn't get as far as full immersion baptism, but certainly there was a good more deal of water involved than the brow type of baptism. So at the end of our ordeal, like John Ames in the story and his childhood friends, we ended up with a wet kitty. But nothing about our experience felt particularly sacred. We had accomplished a crucial chore, and yes, we had a squeaky clean cat, but it was pretty clear that we hadn't performed any sort of blessing. At the time, we wondered whether Felix, in fact, would ever forgive us, which I think he did just about a half an hour later. But here's the thing. In my haste to clean up a mess, I wasn't in the presence of mind to consider and appreciate the mysterious kitten life that I was holding in my hands. And the truth be told, unlike John Ames, I hadn't set out in the first place to offer a blessing. That hadn't been my main intention. I think we can relate to this because so often in life we approach situations like they're a mess to clean up instead of beholding the creature that's really there. So everyone has petted a cat, says Marilyn Robinson in her novel, but to touch it like that with the pure intention of blessing it is a different thing, she says. This morning I want to invite you to explore with me this very different thing, which is blessing. In doing so, I want to take seriously the change that John O'Donohue offers in our reading to rediscover, the challenge that he offers, to rediscover the power that we have in blessing. We need to bless one another because an act of blessing makes real the simple truth that, as John O'Donohue puts it, no life is alone or unreachable. When you offer someone a blessing, you make a connection with that person that penetrates all the surface layers of personality and self-protection that we wear like a mirror every day. To offer a blessing and to have received it is to connect with another human on the deepest level. John O'Donohue says, a blessing is different from a greeting or a hug or a salute or even an affirmation. A blessing is a deep connection from soul to soul. Soul to soul. I think we hunger for those kind of deep connections, don't you? But so often our practical sensibilities get in the way of making them happen. Like my experience with our kitty's unintentional baptism, we tend to focus on business and the task at hand in any given encounter. We go to our jobs, or to school, we go to the farmer's market or to community meetings where we do our work and accomplish our tasks. But in these daily encounters, how often do we pause to acknowledge the sacredness of the persons right there in front of us? How often do we put down the thing that we're doing and take in the extraordinary life sitting there across from us at the table in the restaurant or next to us here at Unity? My hunch is not often enough. We need more blessings, don't you think? The Jewish tradition, which I can't help but mention since we're honored to meet here in Havurah and honored to have Cerise with us who does the singing for the Havurah too. So the Jewish tradition has a powerful tradition of blessing in it. There are blessings in this tradition for everything from going to the toilet to blessing your food. These blessings were handed down generations ago from teaching rabbis. Rabbi Marcia Prager, in her book, The Blessing Way, tells a story about a man who grew up as an Orthodox Jew. And in his family, they would bless everything all the time. And so he was admitting at a dinner party one night, he said, you know, I really grew up angry because all these blessings, these Baruch, how do you say that? Baruchas, yeah, they were always going on, and they were always being mumbled, and we always had to stop as kids and stop for a Barucha. And so he said he fled to Buddhism when he got old enough to get away from it all. And that he, was, one day he was realizing that in Buddhism you're taught to be mindful. And he was with one of his family members visiting them back in New York City, and they stopped to do the Barucha, the blessing, and he just went, oh, I got it. All those years, I was being taught how to cultivate mindfulness. So making a Barucha, the act of blessing, is a mindfulness practice. And so he brought his Judaism and his Buddhism together, and then he was a, what do you call it, a Buju or a Jew? There's many blessings in the Jewish tradition, and really what they're all about is not so much the words, but about this cultivating of this attitude of wonder and thankfulness in the flow of your ordinary life. So one Jewish rabbi called it gratitude yoga. Gratitude yoga. One of the traditions said that you should bless things at least 100 times a day. Now, wouldn't that be a lot of noticing? Bless things 100 times a day. So the essential point in the blessing, though, as we see from this Jewish man's story, is it's not so much the words, but it's about trying to remember to ask for our hearts to be open so that we can really see, like the song says. And John O'Donohue notes that we especially need blessings and especially need to ask to be able to really see at the times in life that he calls the threshold times. Those are moments when we're passing from what is known to what's unknown. Like starting a new job, or retiring from the world of work, or ending a relationship, or grieving someone who's passed, or the beginning of treatment for an illness. These are threshold times. At any time you can ask yourself, at which threshold am I now standing? Because we're always at some kind of a threshold. At this time, what are you leaving? What are you about to enter? And what's preventing you from crossing over to your next threshold? And what is, or what could help you to have the faith to take the leap? To acknowledge and cross a new threshold is always a challenge. It demands courage and a sense of trust in whatever is emerging. This trust becomes especially essential when a threshold opens suddenly in front of you, one for which you had no preparation. This could be an illness, or suffering from a loss of some kind, because we're so engaged in our worlds that we forget how fragile life can be. It takes only a couple of seconds for our lives to change irrevocably. Suddenly you stand on a completely strange ground, and a new course of life has to be embraced. You look back at the life you lived just a few hours ago and it seems very far away. A great complexity of emotions comes at these living thresholds. Confusion, fear, excitement, sadness, hope. Especially at such times, we need blessing and protection. That's why such vital crossings in religions all over the world are clothed in ritual. Baptisms of babies and funerals for the departed and the pomp and circumstance of graduations. But many thresholds are not that visible. Though we know one another's names and recognize one another's faces here at Unity, we never know what destiny is shaping each person's life right here on the spot. The script of individual destiny is a secret, and each destiny is a mystery that is never finally available to the mind's understanding. And we develop the spiritual practices here, but I am encouraging us to develop a spiritual practice of blessing one another with each thing that arises in our lives. John O'Donohue says, "This deep acceptance can open a vast spring of trust within the heart." This deep acceptance can open a vast spring of trust within the heart. This acceptance of one another, of what one another is going through. So the practice of blessing can free us into a natural courage that casts out fear and opens our lives to become voyages of discovery, creativity, and compassion. No threshold need be a threat, but rather an invitation and a promise. Whatever comes, the great sacrament of life, blessing, will remain faithful to us. At such crossings, O'Donohue says, we need to find new words and ways of offering one another blessings. And what would these words convey? It doesn't have to be complicated. For starters, we could just say, I see what you're going through. I see what you're going through. I know you're facing something, and who's to say whether it's good or bad, or somewhere in between. But I stand with you in faith at this threshold. That's what we could say. That's a blessing. The sensation of blessing is of really knowing a creature, says Marilyn Robinson about the kitties. I mean, really feeling its mysterious life and your own mysterious life in this strange connection. There's reality in blessing. It doesn't enhance sacredness, but it acknowledges it. And there is power in that. I've felt blessing pass through me. Have you? Yes. In the Diksha, I'm sure you feel the blessing passing on through you. I remember one time when I especially felt it that I just wanted to reminisce about with you. It was many years ago in my hometown, in my little church in Alabama, New York, and I was thinking about it because my grandmother was there. She hadn't passed away yet. I was 17 years old, and the minister knew that I was in college, and I was seeking my career choice. And he saw me at a threshold, and he knew there was an occasion for a blessing to take place. So I was home visiting from college, and he asked me to stay after church, and asked all the people to stay in the sanctuary. And he said to them, you all have watched Norma grow up, and do you feel that she has a call to the ministry? And one by one, the people said, yes, yes, yes. And then he asked them to come forward. First of all, my family came up to the chancel, we called it, and he asked them to lay hands on me. And then he asked everybody in the congregation if they could to stand up and come forward and touch me or my family or each other's shoulders. And it was a breathtaking sight. An interconnected web of people linked by the physical touch of hands and by the emotional bond of that moment and by the spiritual connection of our shared humanity. And I'll tell you, in that moment, I felt it. Blessing. pass through me. I felt my mysterious life and the mysterious lives of all the people in that sanctuary, all of whom were connected in that moment, hand to hand and shoulder to shoulder and heart to heart and soul to soul. And looking back on that experience years later, through the lens of John O'Donohue's writing, I'm struck by two things that I want to share with you about it. The first is the power of blessing not only comes from this, let me say it again. The first is that the power of blessing comes not only from the way it forges this deep human connection, which I really felt when they were laying those hands on me, but also in the way that it expresses a yearning or a longing for something to come. And that's what you heard in that Gaelic song. In that moment, when they were blessing me, they were acknowledging in that moment that yes, they had seen me grow up and saw something in me that they felt was heading me toward ministry, but they were expressing and articulating a desire of their hearts for what might be. A blessing says, I am here with you, but it also says, I hope this for you. So it's got those two parts to it. And it's a belief that as we speak those words of hope, that our words are actually affecting the unfolding of it. And I had a long journey to go on before I actually came here to Ashland and became a minister with you. But somehow their words of blessing, I think, were having an effect on me all my life, creating the openings, the opening doors in your hearts through which I could come into my full expression of myself. So it's awesome to think that our words might cause the forces of the universe to somehow shift and change and open doors and move things around so that we are making way for people to come into alignment with their destiny. Mm-hmm. So even if your faith seems weak at first, do it anyway. Offer your blessings anyway. Express your desire and your longing for what may come. At first, we may or may not believe that our words actually can change the course of cosmic events and bring about particular outcomes, but our words of this heartfelt longing type have a great effect. And this is what we really believe here at Unity. To offer a blessing, we just need to believe that our reaching out, our expressing of our deepest desires for one another have an impact. And I just wanted to share that story from my life because I want you to think about stories from your life too in which you received a blessing and it had a real impact on your life, or maybe a blessing that you gave to somebody. And the other thing that comes out of this story is that it wasn't just the minister that was blessing me. You know, he knew that it needed to be not just him talking to me after church. That wasn't as big an impact as having all the people there bless me. So this is the other thing that comes out. Anyone can bless. You can bless. A child can bless. Your friends can bless. Your boss can bless. Your mail carrier can bless. Your waitress can bless. And yes, cats and dogs can bless us too. Sure, we ministers tend to do a lot more blessings than the average person, but what if everybody found more occasions to be blessing people all the time? In her poem, Dr. Ellen Bass, who was a professor I had in theology school, she wrote this poem, If You Knew. And she said, what if you knew you'd be the last to touch someone? If you were taking tickets, for example, at the Shakespeare Festival, and you might take care to touch the palm, brushing your fingertips along their lifeline's crease. When a man pulls his wheeled suitcase too slowly through the airport, when the car in front of you doesn't use its signal, when the clerk at the pharmacy rushes on and doesn't say thank you, what if you remembered they're going to die, like all of us? A friend told me she'd been with her aunt and they just had lunch, and the waiter, a young man with plum black eyes, joked kindly as he served her the coffee, told her she was beautiful, and kissed her aunt's powdered cheek when they left. And then they walked a half a block, and her aunt dropped dead on the sidewalk. What would people look like if we could see them as they are, soaked in honey, reckless, pinned against time? This poem brings me back to where we began, with the kitten's bath years ago. Here was the thing. I told you, in my haste, I didn't have the calm presence of mind to consider and appreciate the mysterious kitten life that I was holding in my hands. I didn't take the time to acknowledge its sacredness, and isn't that so often the case as we navigate through the rush and tumble of our daily lives, getting the kids up and making it to work on time and meeting our deadlines? But what if this? What if we try from this day forward, even a little bit, as the poem says, what if we try to see the people that we encounter every day in the light of their fragile, mortal humanity? What if we try to remember that you, that we, that each and every one of us is a wonderful, mysterious life, a beating heart, a sacred presence, and maybe, just maybe, like the water, like the waiter in the poem, we might tell more jokes. We might kiss more old women on the cheek. We might pause in a greeting moment, and rather than rush on by, we might say words of blessing. My spiritual friends, this is my hope for us, that we can each be agents of blessing in our lives, like the Irish bards of old. They knew that it was said about them that they knew that the words they spoke could create the rise and fall of the kingdom. The words we speak are very, very important. What we say about one another's lives when we're casually talking to somebody else, we can be creating the rise or fall of that person. So I hope that we here at Unity, and with all those that we're connected with on a daily basis, through our shared and precious life on this earth, will take up this practice of blessing. And now I offer us a blessing in closing from our beloved Irish man, John O'Donoghue, who passed all too quickly from our midst. He said, and I give you this blessing, may you listen to your longing to be free. May the frames of your belonging be generous enough for your dreams. May you arise each day with a voice of blessing whispering in your heart. May you know the eternal longing that lives at the heart of time. May there be kindness in your gaze when you look within or without. May you never place walls between the light and yourself, or between the light and any other being. May you allow the wild beauty of the invisible world to gather you, mind you, and embrace your being. And may a million blessings return to enfold you, now and all the days to come. Amen.
Days pass, and this emptiness
generous gifts to Unity and Ashland and creating this to be a space of blessing. I wonder, the Irish said that there were 1,000 colors of green, and that was one of the most beautiful things you could lay your eyes upon. So I wonder if we could lay our eyes upon a lot of green today.
You want to invite everybody to stand in a circle?
And to start coming forward as we sing the song.
Oh, holy friends, your friendship as soul friends and friends of spirit. It means so much to every human being in this room. It means so much to the divine. And when you offer that soul friendship, you are the Anamhara, channeling the light of the divine through your open heart. When you're down in trouble and you need some love again, and nothing, no, nothing is going right. Close your eyes and think of me.
pause here in the beauty of this moment and know that if you've got a need, you've got a lot of friends, okay? They're all right here. You can call out to your friends, you know. We want to be this kind of close community, and we're so thankful for each other. And even if it's calling out across the miles or across the eons to our beloveds on the other side, we've got a lot of friends. We've got a lot of helpers. And we've got a lot of blessings to give. So thank you, my spiritual friends, for being with me. Hello. Everything is in that song. Have a great St. Patrick's Day.